This one starts.
So, welcome to my new and slightly improved studio. Firstly, just want to say thank you to everybody who supported my album. It actually did a lot better than I thought it would over on my Bandcamp, but most of the support from that album is actually what drove the last couple of studio updates. My acoustic absorption that I've built and my new headphones, which I'm going to get into. So yeah, thanks to everybody who supported buying my album, anybody who even just downloaded it and listened to it. It's free. Check it out in the link in the description. Anyway, I also just want to say thank you to everybody who's supported this channel so far. I believe by the time I'm uploading this video, I should have 25,000 subscribers, which is pretty crazy. Looking back at my last studio video, I think it was something more closer to 10,000. But yeah, anyway, pretty crazy to think how quickly things are going. Anyway, thank you to everybody who supported the channel so far. I want to show you guys a couple of updates that I've done to my studio in the last few months. So like I mentioned, I think the biggest and most recent updates that I've done to my studio are my new headphones and acoustic absorption that I actually DIY'd myself. The headphones that I chose to go with are the Bear Dynamic DT880 Pro 250 ohm versions. They are absolutely ridiculously cool. I kind of always underrated headphones until I tried these ones out, and yeah, I was pretty much blown away. Super happy with the purchase. So yeah, basically everybody who supported my album, this is thanks to you guys. I've been able to treat my ears with this. So hope you think that is money well spent for all those who did support me. So like I mentioned, another big update to my studio are these DIY acoustic panels that I built. I was actually thinking of doing a kind of DIY tutorial how to build acoustic panels, but in the process I realized how bad I am at actually doing this kind of thing, and I pretty much broke all the safety standards, and it's probably going to be pretty irresponsible to show you guys, the building process, because it was quite janky. But anyway, this is what I've built. I'm going to post a couple of links to where you guys can find the resources that I used to build these, and hopefully that'll sort you guys out. I built 6 of these kind of single panels, and then 2 of these double panels. One is behind me and one is actually against my window over there. I didn't bother covering that because I've got the curtains and stuff, but I'm still thinking in the future I'm gonna actually just fill that space up and cover it with the same material, because I like the look of this vibe, and I think the curtains kind of don't look too cool. But yeah, anyway, I think for now you don't really see that side of the studio too much in the videos, so it wasn't a huge investment. I think that was hugely important at this point in time. But yeah, let me show you the other panels and where I've mounted them. So I basically previously had a couple of those acoustic bass traps in the corners, and I think I had 2 in each corner. And so I've removed those and placed those elsewhere in the studio, one above, as well as the long single panels behind the speakers over there. And then on this side, that's actually 2 single panels, but it's basically acting as a double, just because I don't really have space in this corner for another kind of bass trap configuration like I've got in the other 3 corners. So I realized a lot of the videos that I had posted, where I got the ideas and most of the kind of building instructions for my acoustic panels, I realized pretty much all of those, the guys were using rock wool. And I wanted to discuss a couple of reasons why I chose not to use rock wool. So I don't want to get into an argument about what's the best way to do things and what's safe and what's not safe. Most sources say that rock wool is pretty safe. However, that being said, some people say it's not safe if you don't cover it with the correct materials. And a couple of other videos I saw guys, sealing it up with plastic and that kind of thing. So point number 1 is I didn't want to seal up the kind of enclosures that I had made for my acoustic panels, because that kind of defeats the purpose of the panel. You kind of want the sound to penetrate through the fabric and get kind of stuck in the material. And so you do obviously get much more expensive fabrics that are designed specifically for this kind of thing, but those were obviously, out of the budget for me. And point number 2 is my studio is obviously in my home, so I wanted to kind of avoid any type of, what might be hazardous materials from, having them inside my home that could potentially be dangerous for myself, anybody else in my home, or my pets. So I decided not to use rock wool. So like I said, I don't want to get into what is best and what's worse and, what's good for your health and all that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, when you're installing rock wool, they recommend using a mask and using eye goggles and using gloves and that kind of thing. Whereas, that in itself should kind of tell you the stuff is probably a little bit harmful, maybe not posing an absolute fatal health risk, but it's not good stuff. Also, on the other hand, it's made from some pretty nasty materials. So I spoke to a couple of people in the industry and local and abroad, and it seems like, the best option that I could think of for my situation was, a local product called Isotherm. I think there's an international product that's a similar thing called Earth Wool. I'm not sure if they're the same product or anything, but they're both made from entirely recycled materials, and they're both designed to be absolutely safe for use in the home. So one thing to note is they don't have the material density of something like rock wool. So obviously rock wool is going to achieve it's going to achieve the task much better. But that being said, is if you use more of this material, you will most likely be able to get the same results. Like I said, I decided to go with Isotherm. This is a local product that's made from recycled plastics, and it doesn't have the same material density as rock wool. However, I decided to get the thickest one that I can get and then kind of like double stack them and compress it as much as I can inside the panels, and I think the results were very good. So my main goal with the new treatment of my studio was to correct some of the phase issues that was happening in the low end. And if you actually have a look at this graph, this was taken in August. So this was without the new panels that I've built, just my kind of like commercially bought stuff. As you can see, it's kind of like doing the tops and mids pretty well, but the phase differences, so the difference in the stereo between the left and right in the low end becomes more and more apparent as it kind of goes lower, and specifically around this 100 hertz hump. And listening to my music, it seems like I did actually have, and speaking to a couple of mastering engineers and producers much better than I, it seems that I did have a bit of a problem at 100 hertz. So that was kind of like my goal, is to get that more evened out, the left and right between those two. So this is like the newest measurements. Okay, I know I should be using a program called Room EQ Wizard. You get like all sorts of more accurate representations of the amount of reverberation at different kind of frequencies and stuff. But, most of you guys have this, so you can see, and it's visual and all sorts, and I've already got it loaded, just makes it a lot easier. And I also didn't have Room EQ Wizard, and I was too eager to get the panels up at the time. So anyway, as you can see, I've pretty much sorted out those differences in the low end. And, to me, the difference was audible instantly. It feels like Sonarworks is working a lot less correcting that difference in the left and right over there. So this is the older one, as you can see. And then this is the most recent. Okay, it's a bit wonky, I know. So one thing to keep in mind is that, so in case you didn't notice, this is me. This is like my desk. This is my like console area, my side desk area. My monitors are around about here. And one thing to note is that this wall on this side is not solid concrete. All these three walls on this side are solid concrete. So I'm just going to draw those like this. Double walls. So this wall is a drywall subdivision with another office on this side. So by my deduction is there was already a fair amount of absorption happening on this wall. Some of the sound was going through the drywall and being absorbed in the empty space on that side, whereas the concrete on this side was reflecting a lot of the sound. And you could actually see that in the graph. So the difficult thing is that I have a door over here that opens inwards. So it was relatively impossible for me to do a bass trap in this exact corner. So by my deduction that this wall on this side is probably doing a lot of absorption while this wall is doing a lot of reflection, I naturally wanted to add more absorption to this wall. So this is why I had two panels. I actually hung two panels on this wall here, right next to each other. Also bear in mind I couldn't trap this corner with the panels that I was making. I had to use the ones that I already had and kind of cut off the corners ever so slightly. And then I put another panel in this corner here, another one in this corner here, one in this corner here. Also, due to the fact that I actually put another panel against the door there, and then I made two double panels. The one I placed here, and the other one is behind the curtain, kind of sunk into the windowsill area. So I also did some updates to my sort of front panel console, also DIY'd. I built this little kind of ramp here with a little lip at the bottom so the stuff doesn't slide down. I'm actually pretty stoked with that. You know, like I said, I'm not very amazing at the DIY stuff. I do enjoy doing it though. I also created two wings for my desk. So I've got one on the side here. That's basically got my whiteboard, my SH101, and then I've got some shelves underneath there which I keep all sorts of cables and batteries and stuff. And then I've got another wing which I made on this side over here. There isn't any shelves under that one, but because I actually want to be able to slide the chair underneath there, that's kind of like the station that I use for my live performance and stuff like that. Just trying to make things a little bit more ergonomic so I can kind of slide the chair around a lot easier and get to the pieces that I want to get to. As you can see there, I also installed a screen that makes life easier when I'm streaming. I can check the chat and stuff like that, but also it's pretty invaluable to be able to have something like your mixer as well as some scopes and stuff on another screen while your project is opening. So that's been quite a lifesaver. I'm pretty glad I installed the third screen. And then here at the bottom, I don't know if you noticed from my previous video, I had the Novation remote, but I felt like I never really used the parameters, the knobs and faders as much. You know, when I wanted to get nitty gritty with MIDI control and stuff like that, I can always just jump to the other MIDI controller, as you saw on the left-hand side. So that's been replaced by the Arturia Micro Lab, based on the fact that it's smaller and it can fit in front of me next to a synth on this little front console. The Novation, as much as I love it, it was just a little bit big for right in front of me on the desk. And I've also still got the Launchpad Pro and a little Arturia Micro Freak. Absolutely incredibly versatile synth for the size and for the price. Highly, highly recommended. My favorite thing about it, I would say, are the formant type sounds. But it's so versatile. I mean, you can literally make any type of sound with it, and it's nice to have like right there. I don't really like the keyboard that much, but the sound design parameters are amazing. So it's right there. I can quickly just make a sound, record it in. Bob is your uncle. So I forgot to mention the Cyclone Analogic TT303, a really good emulation of the legendary TB303 synthesizer. So that basically does acid leads, and it's really cool to have alongside this guy. And for those who haven't been following my channel and you don't know what this beast is, this is my Eurorack modular synthesizer. I'll probably do a video of that all on its own, because there have been a couple of developments and stuff that I haven't really covered in videos yet. So definitely stay tuned for that, but it's pretty complicated, so I'm going to leave it for its own whole video. And then another couple of things that I've probably mentioned in previous videos that aren't really additions, but just to make for the completeness of this video for newcomers to my channel. Those monitors over there are Eames Quartz monitors, and I use a Focusrite Sapphire Pro 24 sound card. And another question that I get asked quite a lot, even though the logo of the DAW is in all my videos on the top of the screen, is what DAW do I use? And I use Cubase Pro 10 at the moment. I still need to update to the latest version, but this video might get watched after an update or anything, so just, you know, for reference, I'm using Cubase Pro. This camera that you're seeing this video being recorded on is a Canon EOS M100, and the audio recorder that I use for my kind of outside the studio videos and my more mobile stuff is a Zoom H1N. Oh yeah, and I edit my videos in DaVinci Resolve, which is free, and it's definitely competes with Premiere Pro, Final Cut, and all those expensive professional ones. So for those guys who are wanting to get into editing videos and making your own videos and stuff, definitely check out DaVinci Resolve. So for those who noticed, this is a different microphone to my previous setup. I did have an SE Electronics, but that mic bombed out on me after many years. So I just got a cheap and cheerful Samson CO1U Pro USB microphone, just so I can have another something external for my sound card, so I can plug it into like my laptop or something like that if I'm ever on the go. Just makes things a little bit more versatile, I think, not needing the sound card. And that is the Logitech C922 webcam. I have another one of those mounted onto the ceiling over there, and that's what I use kind of for my live performances and stuff. And then that is a janky cable holder that I made out of a piece of wood that is attached to an old mic stand. It works. So some of you may have noticed in my later videos, I actually ended up selling the Moog, even though I said I probably wouldn't. It was just so big, it ended up spending most of its life kind of like away from arm's length, so I didn't use it as much as kind of it deserved. So I felt like it should go to somebody more worthy, or somebody who would use it a lot more often. So I did end up selling that, and yeah, as you can see, that's my Novation remote that used to be in front of me, but I moved it over there just to kind of free up some space in the front there. Yeah, and then just some other random bits and bobs, batteries, notepads, that kind of stuff down there. Some of you may have seen this in my live streams, the Roland MC303, old but gold. Couple of the things on that are actually not working, pretty messed up, but you know what it does very well. So it's really cool just for some, you know, jams, some old school sounds. Just whip it out, and you know, it's one of those kind of like instant preset boxes, so I enjoy playing with that from time to time. I guess this is more of a random thing, but I do use it from time to time. It's actually a very, much funner thing than I ever thought I'd have with it. I think that's a Roland FC200 foot controller. Basically, yeah, it sends MIDI messages that you can tap in with your feet. And on the far right hand side, as you can see there, that's basically an expression pedal, so you can link that to a MIDI parameter, so you could use that to control a filter or something like that. So essentially what I use it for is to record arm and play stuff while I'm jamming with the synth. As you can see, it's right underneath there, so it's pretty handy. Hands off the DAW. You can get some things going with that. Very useful thing. So in some of my more recent videos, some of you may have noticed the light in the background. It's actually from this like disco light thing. It was on special at an online store here in Cape Town. So it's a company called Stag, but I think it's like a rip-off of some other well-known thing. It's very cool. I dig the colors that it makes, and it can do all sorts of weird things that can, change to the beat and all sorts of stuff. But it sounds like an absolute tractor when it starts up. So I'm probably not going to use that in the studio, but I do like the vibe. So I definitely want to get something else that can do color changing stuff that's not as as noisy. It's probably one of the reasons why it was on special, but it's cool. I might use it for live performances and stuff. When I'm streaming, it can change color to the beat and all sorts of interesting things. So yeah, that's fun. So yeah, that should give you guys a tour of my new updated studio. Hope you guys enjoyed that.